A new week begins, of course, on this Monday morning. We welcome you to it. A week that will feature a National Football League game this season. Preseason action. The first one to kick things off under the lights of Kenton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's the Hall of Fame game between the Bears and the Texans on Thursday evening. So much to get to. Practice underway at training camp in a big weekend where quarterback questions were answered with very big paydays. Jordan Love in Green Bay. Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. So much to get to here, DRS, to start off our second hour together.
Quarterbacks getting paid, no surprise here. Resetting the market on a day-to-day basis, no surprise either. So the next quarterbacks that are in line for a payday, a la Dak Prescott, they will also reset the market. I don't think anybody's really upset about the quarterbacks, getting on their team and getting re-signed, like Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. What else were they going to do? Jordan Love up there in Green Bay. What else were they going to do? People are just astounded by the amount of money some of these guys are making because the past performance doesn't really match what that price tag is. But you have to remind yourself, it's when you're actually going to get signed. And also the NFL actually pays on what your future is supposed to look like, not what your past actually looked like here. So we're not surprised by any of this here, that quarterbacks are getting paid. So it's supposed to happen in the NFL.
DRS, I think it is very natural for National Football League fans all around the game to want to match price tag and performance. But price tag does not just simply equate to performance. There is promise and prospect associated with that as well, and a word called inflation. That as the salary cap rises, so too do the salaries, thus that are given out to the quarterback position. Let's start in Green Bay, where they are feeling the love. 30 consecutive seasons, now 31, in fact, of consistent and successful quarterback play that they hope to continue at least for 35. Jordan Love signing a 4-year, $220 million extension with the Packers. $55 million per year annually. It matches the highest paid contract in the history of the National Football League, alongside Joe Burrow in Cincinnati and Trevor Lawrence earlier this offseason in Jacksonville. Jordan Love at $55 million per year, one of the 3 highest paid QBs the NFL has ever known.
Yes, and that's what's going to happen here. When you have a young franchise quarterback that you feel is the future of your franchise and he's up for a contract, he will be paid accordingly, because all the agent's going to do is like, okay, who signed last? All right, let's start right there. We'll take $1 or $2 above that and we'll continue to move on. That's typically what takes place, but also love the way Green Bay handled this. There was never any animosity, Ben, all the way through. Shows up at the OTA, shows up at training camp, says, you know what? We're almost at the finish line here. I'm not going to not show up to push this over. I'm going to show up to training camp. I'm going to get those mental reps in. I'm going to be with the boys out here. And also keep in mind, signing a young quarterback here to get used to his younger wide receivers there. Dobbs, Reed, Wicks. I love the fact that you now have this young core in place here. No animosity. Go ahead and let it rip, getting down to Brazil in game number 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles. What's the last thing you needed here, Ben? This to be drawn out to August 31st before you finally came to an agreement here and he misses all of training camp? No. Nip this in the bud right away. The Packers did that. That's how good franchise operates here. And another quarterback, it looks like, in that long lineage over the past 30-plus years, it feels like, from Favre to Aaron Rodgers and now to Jordan Love.
Bears fans, Lions fans, Vikings fans, elsewhere around the NFC, thinking to themselves, if they're investing $55 million per year in this guy, how do they keep doing it? Jordan Love, first-round draft pick back in 2020. Of course, it greatly upset Aaron Rodgers. He sat on the bench for 3 seasons behind number 12 in Green Bay. Rodgers says, I'm done as a Packer. I'm going to the bright lights of the Big Apple, really New Jersey, and the New York Jets. Jordan Love in his first year as a starter last year, the 4th of his National Football League career. Good early, at least from a touchdown to INT ratio. Some struggles midway through the 2023 NFL campaign. And then, Donnie, the idea of promise and projection is what we saw in the performance in the final 9 games for Green Bay. Really the last 10, but sensational in 7 of the last 9. In the regular season, their final 8 matchups for Green Bay. In 6 of the 8, a victory for the Packers. In 6 of the 8, Jordan Love throwing for 250 yards or more, 18 TDs to only a single INT in those final 8 games. And they go on the road to Dallas. They stun the Cowboys at the Star. 272 yards, 3 touchdowns, no INTs, and that super wild card weekend victory in Dallas over the Cowboys. That is why Jordan Love has been paid.
Yes, exactly. And also, you love to see it, too, because it's playing better at the end of the season here, picking up a playoff victory. That's the taste that you want to say, you know what? I don't have to sit back and think twice about signing this quarterback. Like, hey, man, he had a good start to the season, but when the pressure ramped up, he just wasn't there. You're accepting the fact that they brought him away exactly the way they wanted to work it out, not throwing him into the fire, having him sit and learn here, which quite frankly has worked back-to-back times now with Aaron Rodgers, and also taking a look at Jordan Love. I like where the Green Bay Packers are at right now because I think they do have their quarterback of the future. Loved what I saw last year. Coaching staff seems like the way to manage them. I think they're going to have a pretty good season this year, no doubt about it. Just hope that they don't have that great of a start down in Brazil.
In Sao Paulo, that Friday opener to the 2024 NFL regular season, Green Bay a short 1.5-point underdog against Donnie's Philadelphia Eagles. But even if it is a loss in week number 1, Green Bay expected to do a ton in 2024. 9.5 the win total for the Packers. The over has the juice. Hoping to get to double-digit wins once again. Favored to reach the postseason at minus 164. Second best price in the NFC North behind the Detroit Lions. Of course, the Lions' first divisional championship in 30 years in 2023. But with Aaron Rodgers in the decade plus prior, Green Bay had won the NFC North 8 of 12 years entering 2023. So the Packers being forecasted to contend for a divisional crown, even with Jordan Love under center, is not foreign by any means there in Wisconsin.
And by the way, you have a great start to the season, too. So let's just take a look and say, well, they do have a tough matchup against the Eagles. You know, it would have been even tougher playing at Lincoln Financial Field. That's a big win for the Packers, getting that game on a neutral site where nobody has home field when you were supposed to be the away team. Then you have the Colts at home the next week after that. Again, you're looking at, Anthony Richardson, a quarterback, still basically a rookie here. You go on the road for the Tennessee Titans, a lot up in the air there. Minnesota might have a rookie quarterback on September 29th at home. You go take on the Rams, which would be a tough one, but then you're home against the Arizona Cardinals. You could have a real little, a jetway right now to start off this season. If they can upend the Philadelphia Eagles in game number 1, watch out for the Packers here. That'd be a massive win and a lot of momentum in that first month of the season.
They're feeling good right now in Green Bay, the league's youngest roster. Last year, they continue to stay young. DRS mentioned all of the guys they have at the wide receiver spot that came on in a huge way last year. Romeo Doubs, Dontavion Wicks, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson feeling healthier than he ever has entering a season. A.J. Dillon, that lead back after Aaron Jones was released and then went to Minnesota. Donnie, our guy Joe Lisi, here with us on a Football Friday to end out last week, has sky-high expectations and hopes for the Packers this year, truly believing they are the bet to contend for an NFC title at 8-1. Where do you believe the Packers' ceiling is in 2024?
Yeah, the ceiling is a deep playoff run, no doubt about it. If you're looking at that division here, I understand it's actually getting tougher here because Detroit was always that, hey, they're still going to be a doormat. No longer. It might be the class of that division, but I'm not going to say to myself at the end of the season the Green Bay Packers can't beat Detroit. And if they do that, they've already shown. Sometimes you just want to take those steps, Ben, right? Last year, down the stretch, play good football, win a playoff game. What are the expectations the next year? Not to get to the playoffs and lose, get to the playoffs and take another step here. So I won't be surprised one bit here. I like what they have going on. And yes, it's about Jordan Love. I think he can succeed and play well, as we just told you about that early start to the schedule.
More big money given out in Miami. Up next, Tua time in South Florida. The first of the QB extensions inked this weekend on Friday afternoon as the Parade of Nations was floating down the River Seine in Paris. Some breaking news back here stateside for Tua Tagovailoa. A 4-year, $212.4 million deal. That is $53.1 million annually. That makes Tua Tagovailoa the 4th highest paid quarterback in the history of the National Football League, and of course at this current time. So Tua gets his deal. He is the franchise QB in the face of the franchise in South Florida for many years to come.
Well deserved. And sometimes, it's not so much that, let's just say the Dolphins are your favorite team. Like, hey, we got two assigned here. But when you can look and maybe cheer for a guy that seems like just a great team guy, always happy, willing to put in the work, and just had some issues with concussion, we're like, man, it's a shame he's going through that. Good to see him. And you saw him on the sidelines at training camp practice, grab that microphone and basically shout into it, show me the money. The crowd loved it at that point. And you sort of felt well deserved. And I also felt like their head coach said the right things as well. Like, it's not time for a celebration. It's a smile and a handshake. Now we got to get back to work. And I think they will get back to some work because that offense is going to cook this year because there is speed once again all over the place. The question's going to be on the defense for the Miami Dolphins here. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But focusing here on the quarterback itself, if you can keep him upright in the pocket, he is the perfect point guard and maestro for that offense. And I know there's always going to be contributions, or should I say, people saying, oh, should have got Justin Herbert at this point. Tua Tagovailoa fits perfectly in Miami. Well, Donnie, he didn't win in the playoffs last year. What, in minus 79-degree temperatures against Kansas City? Of course he's not going to win that football game when Miami didn't even bring half of their football team due to injury. I love this signing here for him. I just hope it works out in the favor for both because the player got his money. Now we just need him to be healthy because the thing that we always talk about with Tua is not the performance on the field. The guy's a winner. He's won in college. He's had some success in the NFL. It's just trying to stay healthy, and I don't want to see week number 3 concussion test on Tua Tagovailoa because that'll derail that season right away. He deserved to be paid and got paid. Couldn't be happier for the guy.
Yeah, DRS, I think that's a really good point, right? There are questions about the ceiling of Tua Tagovailoa. Does he make Miami a Super Bowl contender? Is he a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the National Football League? All of those are fair and warranted. The health was a huge component of this conversation last offseason as well. And it's different when it's head injury because there is still so much unknown in terms of the long-term effects that it's going to have on your playing career. Tua Tagovailoa shared last offseason. He had in-depth, deep conversations with his family, his loved ones. Was it worth still playing football for what it could do to him as a human being? Not a quarterback, not the face of the franchise of the Fins, but as a human, a husband, a father, all of those that are much more significant than anything that happens on the gridiron. Ultimately, he decided football is his. And last year, he led the National Football League in passing yards, played and started in all 18 games for Miami. 4,624 yards. That does not seem like it is going to slow down with the acquisition of OBJ. And, of course, you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They're happy and signed under contract. So then the question becomes, is this the year for Miami to contend for the AFC East divisional crown that they frankly let stumble a little bit with a gauntlet down the stretch in their final 3 games, and Buffalo beat them week number 18 to claim the division for a 4th consecutive season? We expect the New York Jets to be much better with a healthy Aaron Rodgers this year. It is one of, if not the most competitive divisions in all of the NFL. Donnie, what does Miami do in your estimation in 2024?
It should be a double-digit win football team. And I know you just explained that division obviously is tough with the New York Jets getting Aaron Rodgers back. The Buffalo Bills are always going to be there with Josh Allen, even if you think they take a little bit of a step back from the talent perspective and standpoint. But I just look at that Miami Dolphins offense and say to myself, as long as Tua Tagovailoa is healthy, they are going to put up points. Now, you might say, as we were talking about, how does this defense come from Vic Fangio to another defensive coordinator? You lose a couple players on defense, some high-priced veterans on the move, but you draft Chop Robinson in the draft. Solid outside pass rusher here. Jalen Phillips coming back from injury. Looks like he should be okay this year. And then Bradley Chubb, just want to see him get back to his all-pro mentality. That's a really good front line that can get pressure on the quarterback. They have a couple playmakers in that secondary that should be able to step up at any team that is a healthy Tua Tagovailoa, an offensive coordinator like Mike McDaniel out here, Waddle and Hill. You're going to be just fine if everybody stays healthy. And I think I just saw those Madden ratings, a 99 speed for Tyreek Hill, absolutely well-deserving, and a couple track athletes in the backfield with Mostert and Achane. So I like what I see out of the Miami Dolphins. There's no reason. And look, we can't predict injuries here. Let's go into the season as if they're not going to be catastrophic. The Dolphins are going to win 10 games this season. They're just too talented not to, Ben.
Completely agree. Anthony Weaver, the new defensive coordinator for Miami, a new school guy. Vic Fangio's a little bit on the older side. Apparently, the defense likes him a little bit more. Have to be much better there on the defensive side of the football. The Miami Dolphins are trying to win their first playoff game since the 2000 NFL season. Nearly 2.5 decades for the Dolphins without a single playoff victory. That's step number one. Mike McDaniel has talked about that challenge, embracing the franchise's history and knowing where they need to get to. We'll see if it happens in the 2024 NFL campaign. 8 quarterbacks now, DRS, in the $50 million club around the National Football League with the new weekend acquisitions of Jordan Love, tied for the highest paid player ever in Tua Tagovailoa, 4th richest contract in history. So, where does that leave one Dak Prescott? Yet to sign the contract extension, entering the final year of his deal in Dallas. DRS, a 2-part question. Does the deal get done between Dak and Dallas? And if so, when?
No, I don't think it's going to get done before this football season starts. I think Dak's going to play under that contract, and then the offseason they'll start to renegotiate or try to get him basically as a free agent at that point, because I look at it this way. You missed your window. The time to re-sign Dak Prescott was just after the Super Bowl to a new extension, get him paid, and lower his cap number. So what can you do, Ben? Go out and spend some money on free agents to make yourself, quote-unquote, all in. Renegotiating his contract now almost defeats the entire purpose of why you were supposed to do it in the first place. It wasn't to pay Dak Prescott. It was to pay Dak Prescott and have extra money left over to sign guys like CeeDee Lamb or defensive end.
Yep.
It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, it really is. We'll talk more about news around the NFL up next. Welcome back to this Monday Live right here on the Early Line. The first full weekend of training camp around the National Football League. All 32 teams there. All 32 NFL organizations practicing as well. But sometimes it's not about who's at practice. It's who's absent from practice. For the 4th consecutive day, yesterday, no MarrChase at Bengals practice in Cincinnati. DRS, is there anything you are reading into when it comes to MarrChase's absence, whether it be injury or money?
Yeah, by the way, his agent is probably getting in his ear saying, hey, look, man, I'm going to try my best, but you just saw the way they handled another wide receiver is supposed to get paid. And I know they're going to say to you, we want to pay you, but when is that? In 3 to 4 years at this point? We used to say, wasn't long ago, and I guess technically it is now, 20 years ago, let's call it, the Los Angeles Lakers, Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, right?
Whoa.
In practice,
Okay.
Going forward. But what was the key ingredient here? Shaq wanted to get paid. Dr. Jerry Buss would show up to practice. Shaq would run up and down the court, embarrass everybody, and scream at Dr. Jerry Buss, pay me, after every dunk. Worked out in his favor, not because he got paid there. He was shipped out to the Miami Heat. So you're taking a look at MarrChase, where players want to play. They don't like to sit on the sidelines as a wide receiver and watch everybody else run around making plays. They want their money and they want to make plays. So he's showing up, I guess, being the good soldier now. But sooner than later, there's going to be a stalemate where the Brown family goes, we're not paying you, so you might as well just get on the football field. And I want to see where that goes. Does that mean I leave camp and just stay home, that I get angry, or I only show up to half of the meetings here, put in half the time, and say, until you pay me, you're not getting my full, honest effort? Put it this way, Ben. Put this out to the public here. Should MarrChase be getting paid? 99.9% of the people, even Cleveland Browns fans, will be like, you know what? He should be getting paid at this point right now. The fact that he hasn't been paid is comedy at its best. And also, when you talk about the good vibes that we talk about, Ben, is it the end all be all? No, it's not. Coaches, players can hate each other and still have successful seasons. But you don't want to have the animosity from your best players entering in a season you feel you can make a run and do big things at. Like, what is going to take place at the end of this, Ben? Is MarrChase going to play this season not getting a new contract and be happy? Absolutely not. It never should have come to this point here with MarrChase. I can't wait. Get my popcorn ready, because I feel like we might have a TO on our hands where he's going to be doing push-ups and sit-ups in his driveway at home instead of being at training camp.
I don't get it. I'll never get it. The Brown family known to be often rather stingy. But if you paid MarrChase now, even if you matched what Justin Jefferson was making, 4 years, $140 million, $35 million annually, highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. Of course, something MarrChase is worthy and deserving of monetarily at this time. He would have been able to average it out over the final 2 years of his rookie deal, where it's more franchise-friendly than even the deal the Vikings gave Justin Jefferson. I don't get it. I won't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. Plus 750, still the number on Cincy, tied for the third best price in the AFC alongside Buffalo. What did you say?
But got to wait till the offseason, apparently, in Cincinnati to negotiate. Now that we're finally in the season, now's not the time to actually do it and push it forward. By the way, I would have loved to have seen, because agents always want to get their players paid, right? Superstar players always typically get paid when it's their turn to get paid, and it's MarrChase's chance at this point. I just would have loved to have heard, the conversation from the agent calling Mike Brown going, okay, it's time to get to negotiations, and Mike Brown just goes, what do you mean negotiations? He's under contract for 3 more seasons at this point. We'll talk to you later. I'm telling you, the animosity is going to be so big in Cincinnati. And once again, hey, Joe Burrow, all you have to do is take the field and in your post-practice press conference say, man, I really missed MarrChase. He should be getting paid. I hope this gets done sooner than later. But instead, we're out here dyeing our hair and blonde, look like Eminem, acting the fool because you got paid yourself. Wake up, Joe Burrow. Wake up, man. Get your boy paid.
I don't really get the onus on Joey B. I'm sure there's probably been some internal conversations that he wants his LSU and Cincinnati teammate paid. But, hey, whatever. Scary situation yesterday.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't.
That was a tough transition. Scary situation yesterday in New England with Christian Barmore. After his third year in the NFL out of Alabama, signed a big extension this offseason with the Patriots, 4 years, $84 million. Diagnosed with blood clots, he is out indefinitely. Of course, not the update you want around training camp for one of the young, promising defensive stars for this New England side. That's where we'll leave it at this moment around the National Football League.